Well, people are having such a hard time today because so many terrible things are happening in the world, their country, their community, their family, maybe even in themselves. And for over 40 years, I've spoken on resilience, self care, and maintaining a healthy perspective to professionals in mental health and medicine and ministry in the military. Spoken, in 20 countries and Mayo Clinic, Harvard, Yale, U.S. Air Force Academy. And I thought, what if I took this material and made it available to the general public? So that was the goal. I love writing. As a matter of fact, a friend asked me, well, how many books have you written? And when I told him, he said, Bob, I think you need to get out more often. So I take about a year to think about it and then a year to write it. But writing this book, a funny thing happened. I was drawn back to stories from the past, given the themes. For example, the theme presence. I emphasize how important it is. One of the greatest things we can share with others is a sense of our own peace, but we can't share what we don't have. So I thought of this woman who had been sexually abused as a child, and I was seeing her as an adult. And we were coming to the end of the treatment. And I wanted to make an intervention to sum up, but I wanted to think it through because when I supervise psychiatrists, psychologists, and other helpers, I say to them, when you say something to a patient or a client, I should be able to ask you in clinical supervision, why did you say that? Why did you say that now? Why did you say that now in that way? And what did you expect? So I said to her, when you first came in, you were very upset. You seem in a very different place now. What do you account for that? Oh, she said, yes, I'm in a great place. And she said it was very simple. I said, simple? She said, yeah, the first time I came in here to see you, I simply watched how you sat with me. And then I began sitting with myself in the same way. So that sense of presence is key. And stories like that kept coming back to me as I was preparing the manuscript. This book is interesting for me because I let the inspiration come from three areas. One is psychology, so you know, seminal figures like Carl Jung, but also contemporary ones like Martin Seligman, and then philosophy, poetry, Rilke, classic spirituality, like Thomas Merton and Rumi. I let them inspire me because they have such great wisdom. But the thing I notice with all of them is they have a sense of humility. And when you take knowledge and you add humility, you get wisdom. And when you take that wisdom and add it to compassion and a desire to lead a meaningful life, you get love. And love is at the heart of life. Take a common challenge and seek to face it in a unique way. In the case of this book, it's good to be lost once in a while. I sought to take uh, the head and the heart together. I remembered psychologist Alfred Adler said, follow your heart, but take your brain with you. And and so I sought to do that. And then I thought, well, how can I do this in a unique way? Well, one of the things I tried to do is put something out there a little further than had been in the past. So the chapter on friendship, for example, there's a Cameroonian proverb that goes, "If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together." I also wanted to take core material from my past Oxford books because people are so busy today. So I tried to shorten that. And then I took quotes and stories from wisdom figures that I knew personally and I had known through their writings. because they say such amazing things. I remember Thomas Merton, the spirituality figure. He was walking past a day room in his monastery, and he saw an old monk looking depressed. And he walked up to him and he said, "Brother, are you okay?" And he said, "No, I'm losing my joy, my peace, maybe my faith." If somebody would ask me, a shrink, that question, who's been in the monastery 30 years, what do you say? Merton smiled at the man, put his hand on his shoulder, and said, "Brother, courage comes and goes. Hold on for the next supply." Those kinds of pieces of wisdom are in this book and make it unique. And finally, what I tried to do at the end of each chapter is provide a section where people could make the material their own, given their unique personality and their wonderful experiences in life. So trying to make facing a common challenge in a unique way, I think, is essential. And certainly it was the core of my thinking when I wrote It's Good to Be Lost once in a while.